Good afternoon and welcome. This is News First, where the people come first. I'm Masra Hassan. Let's start off with a look at your headlines for this afternoon.
Mirihana unrest, an act of extremism, a statement from the President's office. 54 people arrested for protesting, 37 admitted to hospital. No political fiascos amidst an economic crisis. People oppose Nuarelia Vasantaya program. Consignment of fuel ordered under the Indian line of credit yet to arrive. Citizens continue to queue up at filling stations. Sri Lanka has expressed interest in an IMF-supported financial program. IMF spokesperson reveals discussions to be initiated in the United States.
A media briefing was convened at the President's Media Center a short while ago. Speaking at the media briefing, Minister of Tourism Prasanna Ranatunga said that the government is of the stance that the country is not in a state of limbo. He said that the country will continue to move forward. Speaking at the media briefing, he also said that the highest number of tourist arrivals was reported in the month of March, and the current unrest situation in the country will only discourage the tourists from arriving in the country. He also said that the government is expecting higher worker remittances in the future, and that in 6 to 7 months, the minister was confident that the dollar crisis will be resolved. He also requested the people to create a conducive environment for the arrival of tourists to ensure the steady inflow of dollars to the country. The minister requested the journalists to observe the developments and assured that the government will continue to provide adequate information about the prevailing situation of the country. He also said that the president took immediate steps to disperse the crowd opposite his residence in Mirihana last night with minimal force, and also added that although the protest was started by the people, a group of extremists have, however, escalated the situation last night. The President's Media Division announced that an organized group of extremists were among those who were protesting at the Jubilee Post in Nugegoda last night.
The statement noted the group acted in an unruly manner and added that this group, armed with iron clubs, machetes and sticks, had provoked the protesters and marched towards the President's residence in Pangirivatta, Mirihana. The President's Media Division also said that most of those who acted in a violent manner were arrested, and it was identified that a majority of them were an organized group of extremists. They had spearheaded the campaign calling for an Arab Spring in Sri Lanka. The PMD revealed those who were arrested had confessed that this unruly situation was created with the intention of enraging the public via planned anonymous social media gatherings.
54 people who engaged in the protest in Mirihana last night have been arrested by the police.
This group of people, by acting violently, have set fire and destroyed a police bus and a jeep assigned to the Mirihana police, a three-wheeler, 2 motorbikes belonging to the traffic division, and an army bus. They have also damaged several other vehicles of the police. The protesters have also vandalized private properties. The police used minimum force to disperse them using water cannons and tear gas. During this incident, 5 police officers sustained injuries. An ASP who sustained injuries is currently receiving treatment at the Colombo National Hospital. Further, a sergeant and 3 police constables have sustained injuries and are currently receiving treatment at the Colombo Villa Teaching Hospital.
The 54 people who were arrested last night have been produced before the Nugegoda Magistrates Court.
Majority in that group were attacked. We can clearly see an attempt to imprison these individuals under the Prevention of Terrorism Act and Public Property Act without bail privileges. The PTA has no relevance here. With regards to destroying public property, we discussed with them. They are not involved in it at all. A different group that they are not aware of had arrived in the early morning. These people have never intervened to destroy the properties. Accordingly, as lawyers, we strictly oppose the move to use the PTA and Public Property Act to curb the opposition by the people. We will take the biggest possible action against the fundamental rights of these people. The Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka said that last night's protesters in Mirihana Nugegada cannot be charged under the Prevention of Terrorism Act. A group of representatives from the Human Rights Commission arrived at the Mirihana police station. Chairperson of the Human Rights Commission stated that the arrested suspects can be charged under the common law but not under the Prevention of Terrorism Act.
The Ministry of Public Security has launched an investigation to identify those responsible for the unruly conduct in Mirihana last night. Now, speaking to News First, Minister of Public Security Sarath Weerasekara said that those arrested will be brought before the law.
It is all right to protest because that is a democratic right of the people. However, can they break through walls and set vehicles on fire in the middle of the road? Can they damage houses nearby? Therefore, we have arrested the people who caused such damages and we will bring them before the law. We know that there is a crisis in the country. There are gas, fuel and power crises in the country at present. But will these issues be resolved by acting in this manner? No. It is okay to protest and show the people's objection. As ministers, we are also disheartened by the prevailing situation to see the people waiting in queues and power supply being disrupted. There are other solutions to these issues. We are implementing these measures. But if they are to behave in such an unruly manner and cause damages to public property, the law will be strictly enforced against them. This is entirely an act committed by extremists. This is a group that came with a plan. We are looking for solutions for the prevailing crisis. If there is a solution to this crisis, please do notify us. We will then consider it. They acted like animals under the influence of narcotics and alcohol. Investigations are underway to gather evidence as to what type of an extremist group committed this act. We are looking into whether there was any religious extremism or terrorism behind this act. We will take action accordingly.
Those who were engaged at the Mirihana protest last night are being treated at the Colombo National Hospital. A total of 37 individuals were injured during the protest. 24 officers of the Police Special Task Force, 3 police officers, 3 journalists and 7 civilians are among the injured. Meanwhile, several politicians representing the government arrived at the president's residence in Mirihana this morning. Speaker Mahinda Yapabe Wardana, Ministers Bandulu Gunawardana, Nama Rajapaksa, Prasanna Ranatunga and Keli Rambukala were among them. An event organized in line with the Single and Tamil New Year at the Carlton Preschool in Norelia was met with strong public opposition today.
Meanwhile, the opening ceremony of the Nuvarelia Vasanta Sanakeliya, organized by the Nuvarelia mayor, was met with strong opposition by the area residents as well. The event was held at the Gregory Lake Gardens. Central Province Governor Lalithu Gamage and State Minister Jeevan Thondaman, who were scheduled to attend as chief guests of the event, were not present at the occasion. The people pointed out that such ceremonies are unnecessary amidst the current economic crisis.
Carpenters are currently engaged in a protest by completely obstructing the Gaul Road from the Moripur junction. Obstructing the Gaul Road from the Moripur junction. The carpenters are protesting against the government by obstructing the Galle Road from the Morto Junction.
Power cuts in certain areas will mean that many Newsfirst viewers could miss the primetime English bulletin on TV1 at 9 p.m. We have decided to repeat our news bulletin at 12 midnight and at 6:30 a.m. the following day on TV1 to help you stay updated. You can catch all our news bulletins online on the Newsfirst Facebook page and YouTube channel. News First, where the people come first.
News First, with the people.
The All Ceylon Container Owners Association says that the transportation of import and export freight containers has declined by around 90% amidst the shortage of diesel. Chairman of the association, Sanat Manjula, said if authorities fail to resolve the issue immediately, the import and export sector's challenges will worsen further. The Ministry of Energy says another vessel carrying 37,500 metric tons of diesel ordered under the Indian line of credit will reach the country tomorrow. Lengthy queues opposite filling stations were seen in many areas of the country today as well.
A tense situation was reported at a filling station in Panadura last night. It had occurred due to a conflict between two groups who were in queue to purchase fuel. Our correspondent noted one person was arrested by the police. A heated situation arose at a filling station in Passara, claiming fuel was issued to groups who were not in queues. Police intervened to settle the matter. Long queues were seen since this morning at the Sipetco filling station in Kegal. Our correspondent noted limited quantities of fuel were issued to those in queues. Diesel was not issued at filling stations in Kandy today as well.
Diesel ගහන්න දැන් මේ ටිප් එක ගියාම ආයේ diesel නැහැ. ඒතකොට අපිට අයින් කරා අපේ දරු පවුල් කන්නේ නැද්ද? කඩේ බඩු ගන්න බෑ. රුපියල් 1000ක් 1500ක් කරන් ගිහලා මොනව ගන්නද කඩෙන්?
Our correspondent noted filling stations in Anuradhapura did not possess fuel. Meanwhile, consignments of fuel were not issued from the oil storage complex in Mudurajavela today. Buses that arrived to transport fuel were seen stationed opposite the premises. To this day, people are suffering due to the dearth of gas. A tense situation was reported opposite a gas distribution centre in Badulla town today. The situation arose centering a discrepancy surrounding the issuance of tokens to purchase gas cylinders. Meanwhile, a tense situation was reported from a gas distribution centre in Putlam. The situation arose after the representative of Litrogas informed that they had run out of gas cylinders. Vehicular movement along the Colombo-Putlam main road was disrupted as a result of the situation. The group dispersed once the police intervened and assured gas cylinders would be distributed within the day.
The Public Utilities Commission has granted approval for a 12-hour power outage today. Accordingly, power outages will be imposed in 2, 4 and 6-hour windows.
The Ceylon Electricity Board revealed that power generation at the Kalnitisa power plant recommenced earlier today. Media spokesperson of the CEB, Additional General Manager Andrew Nawamuni said 1.2 million litres of diesel had been received for this purpose and power can be generated for 36 hours utilising the latest consignment of diesel.
News First with the people.
The International Monetary Fund, or the IMF, says Sri Lanka has expressed interest in an IMF-supported financial program.
I wanted to ask you about Sri Lanka. It's much in the news. There's a lot of some serious economic turmoil there. Talk of the IMF program and trying to address foreign exchange issues. What's the status between the IMF and Sri Lanka, and what do you think of the moves the Rajapaksa government has been taking?
I'll try to be brief. On Sri Lanka, we issued a fairly comprehensive statement. I don't know if you saw it, Matthew, the other day, well, actually the other month, February the 25th, on the Article 4 consultation, our staff report we published. It's got a lot of detail. So I'll refer you and others to that, and I won't repeat all that's in there. Instead, I'll just try to tell you where we are. The Sri Lankan authorities have expressed interest in an IMF-supported financial program. The answer is yes. On the status of that discussion, we plan to initiate those program discussions with the Sri Lankan authorities, including during the finance minister's visit to Washington in April. So we plan to initiate those discussions pretty much in the coming days, and that will include during the expected visit of the finance minister of Sri Lanka to Washington for our spring meetings in April. We will be updating the macroeconomic forecast, and that will come in the WEO that I mentioned earlier in April.
Pakistan's embattled Prime Minister Imran Khan said that he will not resign even as he faces a no-confidence vote in Parliament. The country's opposition, however, says it has the numbers to push him out. The Pakistani Prime Minister has been accused of mismanaging the country's economy.
Besieged by the opposition and abandoned by coalition partners, Imran Khan is battling for his political survival after the opposition called the vote, which is expected to take place on Sunday. The opposition accuses him of economic mismanagement and claims he is unfit for the role of Prime Minister. A parliament session, which was to debate his role, was adjourned yesterday within minutes of opening and without any explanation.
People asked me, Imran Khan, to resign. Why should I resign? I played cricket for 20 years, and those who played cricket with me, they know I fight until the last ball. I have never accepted defeat in my life. Whatever the results of the no confidence vote, you will see that I will become even more powerful, whatever the result. On the 8th of March or before, on 7th March, from America, I mean from abroad, I will not take the name of the country. We received a message, so that's why I'm talking about this message. This kind of message for an independent country. Yes, it is against the Prime Minister, but is also against the nation.
And that's a wrap of this edition of Lunchtime News on TV1. I'm Azra Sun, reminding you to stay safe.